It's really dangerous to let employees use their own tools, like their own software accounts, their own software code that they get. It's really important for companies to pay attention to what resources are being used by the employees. I'll explain why. I'm Aaron Hall. I'm an attorney for business owners and entrepreneurial companies. Imagine an employee comes on board, and that employee you've hired in order to develop an app or a website or some sort of software, or maybe it's some sort of presentations or a product. Whatever it is, often employees want to use the tools they've used in the past. That might be a tool they use for some software. Maybe it's an online website where they have an account. Maybe it's a free account, maybe it's a paid account. Maybe they are grabbing code that they used for some other project and they're using that in their software. Why not just let the employee be accountable for the results? Why do you need to meddle and micromanage and get into what the employee is actually using, the tools and the resources? Here's why. Intellectual property rights and access once the employee's gone. Maybe you didn't realize this, but often when an employee uses software, either the employee owned that software or the employee might be licensing it from someone. But there's a question. First, if it's the employee's actual code, then when the employee leaves, there's a question. Do you have the right to use the code? You may not. In other words, the employee may have made use of the code while the employee worked in the company. But then when the employee leaves, the employee ends the licensing agreement or the permission to use the code. Now what's the company going to do? And by the way, if you have to fire the employee is even more likely not to allow you to use his or her code. If the employee has used software, there's a question whether the results from that software or whatever was made with that software can be used by your company for commercial purposes. Usually software is licensed. It's licensed to the employee. And now that license may allow for the employee to create work for a commercial purpose. But there's a question, does that license transfer over to your corporation or your company? And what if the employee is no longer with you? Can you continue to use it? Here's another problem that comes up. Employees might use software. I'll give you an example. Canva. Canva is a really cool tool to easily make graphics and images and now even video. It's just amazing. And the employee might have a free account. Maybe it's a paid account. Imagine the employee creates all sorts of stuff for the company. And let's just assume for a moment that it's not even a problem that with Canva that the contents that were created are used by the company. But here is the problem. The employee leaves. The company no longer has access to that account. Now let's say the company wants to make a minor tweak to an image from a year or two ago, or change some of the text, or they need the image in a different format, so they need to download it again. If they don't have access to that Canva account, the company can't access it. So usually startups are pretty scrappy. They're using whatever tools and resources they can. But it makes sense to at least review on a periodic basis, are these tools okay for the company? What happens after the employee who's using the tool leaves? Do you own the resource or the work created by the tool? Can you get back in there and tweak things? Do you have access to the tool? And then from a copyright standpoint, do you have a lawful license to be able to use this tool? Or can the employee send you a cease and desist letter saying you must stop using that code because I own it and you fired me and now the employer can't use it any longer? Or you might find another company says, hey look, we see that you used Adobe products to create this video. You never were licensed to create that video. Take that video down or pay us $10,000 to acquire a license after the fact for all those videos that were created. So, what's the takeaway here? When you're running a company, you want to make sure that the company has access to all the accounts, the tools that are being used by the employees, and that somebody is paying attention, whether it's a lawyer or somebody else in the company who knows, to the legal rights to use what's been created by those tools. Because if you use Adobe products to create tools, then this work that's created by the software legally is called a derivative work. In other words, it's derived from an Adobe software. So if you don't have a license or you don't have permission to use it for a commercial purpose in the company, Adobe can say, shut it down. One other example of problems I've seen is where employees will get an image online. They might even pay for the image, and they think they're getting the rights to it to use in the company. And let's say years go by, the image has been used. Let's say it's an image up on the company website. The employee is long gone, and then the company gets a letter from the attorney representing the image copyright holder. And the letter says, you will immediately cease and desist using this image. You are violating the copyright of the image owner. And you say, well, wait a second. I don't remember ever taking somebody else's image. And then you go, oh yeah, I bet this was this one employee who did this. Well, did they keep any record of paying for it? And by the way, even if you pay for an image, it doesn't mean you necessarily own the rights to that image. You might be paying a con artist who says they have the rights and they're giving you permission, but they don't have the rights. So with images, it's really important to work with legitimate image licensing companies, one of the big players. That way you know you're covered, and often a way to ensure you are protected is to check and see if that company has some sort of insurance policy in place. So if you later get a cease and desist letter from the owner of the image and they claim that you are infringing the copyright, you can say, wait a second, no, we purchased that image from Shutterstock or iStock Photos or Adobe Photos, whoever it may be. Here's the license we have, and let's reach out to the company because they have an insurance policy to defend us in that case. I have seen where there are accidents and there wasn't clear communication between the copyright owner and the licensing company, and so the cease and desist letter was sent out in error. I've also seen where companies purchased from a fraudster, from a scam. They paid to use an image, but the company they paid didn't have the right to license it to you. So merely paying for a license is not enough. So as you can see here, whatever images, software, tools, videos, stock photos, stock videos, sounds, all of that, they're important copyright features. And it's important for a company who wants to avoid intellectual property lawsuits to be attentive to working with legitimate sites, controlling the accounts, paying for the tools they use, and that way they have a strong defense if there ever is an allegation later for copyright infringement or some other type of intellectual property infringement. I'm Aaron Hall. I'm an attorney for business owners and entrepreneurial companies. If you'd like more tips about how to avoid problems in your company, you're welcome to subscribe. For example, upcoming videos include: when is a C corporation the best type of company for a small business owner? How do you deal with an allegation of sexual misconduct between employees in your company? How do you prevent allegations of sexual misconduct in your company? How can you limit your risk of exposure from disgruntled employees who you fire and then sue you for wrongful termination? And what are some best practices companies use in hiring a team so that everybody is working towards the goals of the company and they're not distracted by bickering, fighting, ego, and all the other distractions that can slow down a company and redirect its resources to problems and infighting. So if you're interested in those topics, you're welcome to subscribe to this channel. You can also go to aaronhall.com/free, where you'll get access to some exclusive resources and videos I provide to business owners who want to be proactive about avoiding common problems in their companies.